I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins. Thanks for subscribing, watching, and sharing my videos. Guys, today I'm gonna take a quick look at the monthly breakdown per average family household in the United States. A lot of families are struggling just to get by, and just like any other English-speaking country, a lot of people are having a really tough time keeping a roof over their heads. So today we're going to look at the average household spends $5,102 a month. Here's the average broken down. So let's take a look at that. So there it is right there. This is from our friends over at USA Today. It's actually a very important, well-written article that actually goes into depth in where you need to look at and what you need to spend on and where you could save money when it comes to finding deals. And you know, it's getting on the phone. You know, if you have a life insurance policy, okay, or you're insured, and you have a health insurance policy, but you want to get something better, you got to work it. You got to work the phones. You got to work it. So whatever you put in, you get back out, right? Okay, article scan, please. Here we go, guys. The average household spends $5,102 a month. Here's the average breakdown. Don't sweat it too much, guys, because the average household, let's say in a big city like Sydney, Australia, or this is household family in America, right? So that's actually not bad, because in Canada, some people are paying $5,102 a month for their mortgage. So that's, when you think about it, it's not as bad, right? Every household has different priorities when it comes to what you do with your money. But it's important to make sure your overall total spending isn't so high that it prevents you from accomplishing important financial goals, such as paying off debt or saving for retirement. Guys, debt will always be there, okay? So debt needs to be paid down, and it needs to be taken out immediately. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my little avatar here. Debt is very important to take away, because once you take that debt away, you're no longer paying that blended interest rate. A lot of people pay a blended interest rate because they're paying on multiple credit cards, right? So there's a lot of money falling there, right? When you're stuck in your own particular spending habits, it can be hard to determine if your expenditures are reasonable or if there are areas where you're going overboard. Now, again, I did a video yesterday for people in Australia. Create a TDS calculator. Create a total debt service rate calculator. It's free. Go online. Type in what's my TDS, and then fill out all the little brackets, all the little boxes. Check off the boxes on what you're paying and what you're not paying. This way you could input your income, and then you could find out what you have left over in disposable income. Okay? Looking at household spending of your fellow Americans can help you figure it out. And fortunately, the Ascent has some detailed data related to precisely this topic and what we could look at. Save better, spend better. Money tips and advice delivered right into your inbox. Sign up here. So if you want more advice, go ahead and sign up there. Breaking down the average household's monthly spending. According to the Accent's research, I read about these guys in Money Magazine. What's that? Money Retirement Magazine. And I've read about this outfit several times through different various money magazines, Bloomberg magazine, stuff I used to buy back in the day. The average consumer unit spends $5,102 per month. The Bureau of Labor Statistics defines the consumer unit as a family, a single person responsible for their own expenses, or two people living together and sharing expenses. This $5,102 breaks down into 11 specific categories plus a category for other spending. Housing is far by the largest monthly cost, coming in at $1,674 per month, accounting for 32.8% of spending average. That's actually very good because it's below 40%, and that's the rule of thumb. If you're over 40%, you're spending too much on shelter. In the city of Toronto, two average working people making $40,000 to $60,000 a year, two of them, a grand total of $100,000 plus a year, are paying anywhere from 60 to 70% of their income going towards their shelter. So here, 32.8% is really good, and I'm actually happy to see that. If it's above 40%, you're in trouble. of the spending average. Transportation was next with the average cost of $813 per month. Now, guys, let's go back to owning a car and stuff and car insurance. Guys, you don't need the flashiest car on the parking lot. You don't need the best car on the street. You don't need to show off at work. You could buy an 87 Toyota Corolla, work on it yourself, do some things, odds and ends to it, for about $1,800, and it's a 4-door, and it's going to run basically into the ground for another 100, 200,000 miles. There's a lot of cars you could drive out there that last forever, accounting for just 16% of the typical household expenses. So housing, shelter isn't too bad. If you could cut back on transportation in the States, I think you will do yourself a lot better, a lot way better. When it comes to insurances, and then when it comes, because if it's an older vehicle, your insurance becomes cheaper, right? Other major expenses categorized included. So here we go. Personal insurance and pensions. This is hit and miss, depending on family, $608 per month. Healthcare, $414, again, hit and miss. Groceries, $372. We'll leave it at that. That sounds right. Dining out, $288. Entertainment, $269. See, in Toronto, for me or Vancouver, to go out with my whole family, it cost me like $288, $300. Right? And that's just dining out once, right? Entertainment, $269. Cash contributions, $157. Clothing and services, $156. Education, $117. Personal care, $64. So they're probably including student loans and other little tit and tats there, tit for tats in there. No problem, right? Americans also spend the average $169 per month on other spending that doesn't fit into the other specific categories. How to find out areas where you can cut spending? Whether your spending is or above below average, the key is to make sure you're not overdoing it in any one particular category. If you're house poor because you've purchased too large of a home, or if you dine out too often and you're finding yourself in credit card debt because of it, you need to make some changes. So here's the deal, guys. Guys, honestly, it's the vehicle and transportation is a big deal. It's a big deal. Okay, and then the second, in my opinion, in America, would be eating out and credit cards. You gotta pay off that revolving debt. If you want to see money at the end of the month, or if you want to see more money or more green in your pocket, you got to get rid of the credit cards. Pay off your smallest credit card first, because you're paying a revolving debt with a blended rate. So if you have 6 credit cards and you actually add up all the interest you're paying and divide it by how many cards you have, you're actually paying a blended rate, and that's very dangerous. You don't want to get caught into that, because then that leads to bankruptcy. So best thing to do is pay off the smallest credit cards you have and work your way up to the bigger ones, because then you have those little chunks are gone. Those little pieces of interest could be taken out. And provided if you're on a revolving debt credit card, or if it's a compound, whatever the way it's just pay it down, because the less you owe, the less VIG or interest you need to pay. Okay, so this is what needs to be cut back for sure. Dining out and transportation. Okay, personal pensions, your 401k, that's up to you. Because if you're not putting into a 401k, then you're putting into your home, you're putting into other areas or other ventures or business ventures in your life that you could capitalize on later down the road. So think of it like that too. Don't be so dependent on your 401k, because you might fall into something that actually might give you a good return times 10, right? Americans also spend the average $169 a month on spending that doesn't fit into the specific categories. And then I read that. Tracking your spending to identify where your money is going is often the first essential step to cutting household expenses. Many people don't really know how much of their cash goes to things like dining out or personal care, and are surprised to find out. Ideally, if you don't already know what your expenses are, you should track your outflows for about 30 days. Now, guys, there's applications on Apple and Android that help you track your money, help you track where your money's going, help you finance your money, help you find where you're making mistakes and where you're overspending. So you can get an app. Every time you spend, you fill it in and move on. And then at the end of the month, you'll get a little insight. After you track your expenses, it's time to add it all up. When you do, you may find you have an ample income left to save after you're happy with your spending habits. Unfortunately, that's not likely to happen for most people. Instead, it's more likely you'll spot some areas where you're spending way more than you should. If that's the case, that is a great place to start to cut and free up some more cash to save for your financial goals. So using an envelope system to get your budget on track. I've done envelope systems many times when I do a vacation. I get one envelope for the taxi. All the taxi money goes in there, cash. Then I get from the airport to the hotel type of thing, spending money separate. Then I put the money in for the tickets or whatever, or have it paid off. And I always have like 5 envelopes set up ready for spending, shopping, this, so I know what my budgets are, right? If you've identified expenses cut, it can be helpful to try out envelope system. For those discretionary expenses, at least you get used to living on less. Using this system, if you wanted to trim your restaurant spending to $288 per month, you could put that amount in an envelope and start off the month. Pay cash each time you go out to a restaurant, pick up takeout, or grab something from the vending machine. Once the money is gone, you're done dining out for the month. There you go. That's a really good system to set up. It's a backtrack system where you actually, here's the money, and then whatever you have left over, guess what? You could even do it like rollover minutes, where you take that money that you didn't spend, add it to the new one, and before you know it, you might have enough money for a motorhome in 2 years. Believe me, it actually accumulates that fast when you're not spending it that much. You don't have to do this forever, and doing so would cause you to miss out on credit card rewards. Don't worry about those credit card rewards. Be careful with those. But using this budgeting system for a few months could help you get more used to living with your new spending limits so you don't go over budget. How do you compare? Use this breakdown of what your fellow Americans spend to take a close look at your own expenditures. If you find you're spending much larger percentage of your income on particular category than your peers, this can be a perfect area to make cuts so you can do more important things with your hard-earned cash. So there it is there, folks. The Motley Fool owns and recommends MasterCard and Visa. I don't recommend credit cards, guys. These savings accounts for your FDIC insurance. Okay, don't worry about that. So guys, here's the deal, guys. Be smart with your money and pay down the smallest debts you have out. Always pay your private debts first that you owe to people, and then start paying down your smallest credit card with double, triple payments, and then with your biggest credit cards, make the minimums until you get all the small guys out of the way. Once you get the small guys out of the way, you know, if you get in touch with someone that help you with your financial planning, they'll tell you the same thing. You need either a consolidation loan, which I don't recommend any more loans. I recommend credit counseling in a way where you start really taking care of your own money, your budget, your system. It's your hard-earned cash, like they said there in the article. Don't be foolish, okay? If anybody and anything that's spending the money or you're losing the money, it's yourself. So be smart. You know, if you're married, work something out with your partner and get something organized, you know? Start setting goals. Setting goals. By the end of this year, I want to be here. By the end of next year, I want to be here. By the end of 3 years, I'm hoping to have this. You can. If you budget and you save a rainy day fund, because a rainy day fund is working out for the people that had one during this whole COVID crisis. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I really appreciate your support here. Don't forget to, right here, join the channel and set your reminders here for Mike in the Night and Trends in the Housing Market, where we have people call in all the time. I know my housing very well. And when this jumps out at me, I am so happy for you guys that you guys on average are spending 32.8% on shelter. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that you guys got grips on this. This is a big issue in Canada, in Australia, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand. Every other English-speaking country is plagued with housing affordability. The West Coast of the United States, from Washington, Oregon, and California, unfortunately, the average spending average on shelter is just over 57% into 80% in some cases for shelter. That's what happens, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll be reading your comments shortly, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for watching, guys.